was happening was that people were coming to his drugstore to buy the medicine just because they wanted the wafers. So, inspiration. He was kind of onto something. He was onto something here. So what he did is he started to make the wafers without the medicine, just with the gummy, sugary paste, different flavors he added, and they became so popular that he kind of dropped the whole pharmacy thing, just made those, and they took off so quickly that he also wanted to kind of like get back to his like pharmacy roots a little bit. He was he was interested in this whole concept of like germs. At the time, people really weren't sure like if germs were. Well, now we know that germs are the things that spread the disease, but at the time, there was kind of a controversial idea. But he believed that they did. So what he also did, he came up with a way not just to mass produce those lozenges, but also with a way to mass produce them and to put them into wax paper sleeves and to market them as the first candy that had been untouched by a person. So they were sold as the world's first hygienic, healthy candy, safe to touch, safe to eat. Even if the person was selling you them behind the counter maybe had dirty hands, it wouldn't matter because they never touched the food itself. They became so these wafers became such a big deal that he went on to found the New England Confectionery Company. So now we know those as Necco wafers. So that was it would have been almost 200 years ago now. That is really where that's where all this began, with those Necco wafers 200 years ago. The first candy that was mass produced and marketed in a wrapper that had never been touched by a human hand. So candy has come a long way since then. It's one of my favorite things to discuss. It's really one of my favorite things to eat. So today I invited some guests to tell me about what's the candy industry today like. How do they get their passion and inspiration for the candy that they make, and what have been some of their favorites, throughout their lifetime. So my guests today are Patty Chmara-Shirley and Robert Shirley from WODOX in Rome, and Tim Messett from the Rainbow Cupboard in Clinton, right?
That's right.
Okay. So first of all, let's talk to you. First, I want to talk to you, Tim.
Yeah.
So, because you work with the milk chocolate stuff, right?
Right.
So, milk chocolate is something that until about late 1800s, early 1900s was something that people mostly drank. And then the Swiss kind of developed this idea to how to mix the milk with the chocolate to make it smooth, so they could make it into bars and eat them. And I'm wondering, like, since that time, candy's been made. There's been so many different candies. There's been so many different brands. What is it that got you interested in the field and to think, I have an idea to make something in a new way? So what is it that you do?
So, first of all, who doesn't love candy? We all love candy. So, for us, we were a small plant and gift shop in Clinton.
Yeah.
And we realized I came from an area. I grew up in an area down near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We were kind of spoiled with a lot of really good candy shops down that way.
So is that close to Lancaster, where Hershey is?
It's literally on the other side of the state.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
wow,
yeah. Yep. So we were there. My wife and I lived there for many years. Moved up here in the last 10 years, but we started that little shop and realized there's no great candy shops around that we can just go get chocolate like we used to.
Yep.
So we said, let's do it ourselves, and we started doing the research and really getting involved in the manufacturing of it. We also carry other vendors' candies as well. So it's just, for us, it's kind of a labor of love. We just wanted everybody to be able to enjoy what we had for all those years.
So what is it that you do to make a candy?
So for us, it's really the type of chocolate you use.
Mm-hmm.
We use a Belgian chocolate.
Okay.
I know you're going to go into a little bit of the history of it, but the bigger companies that do chocolate own most of the chocolate market.
True.
So they get they gather so much chocolate from around the world. It's hard to get your hands on, but a handful of different types of chocolate. So it's really, for us, it came down to really taste testing the different types of chocolate that are available for us to use.
And
then,
how does a person like do that taste test?
So it's literally ordering these chocolates from these manufacturers, some overseas, some domestic, but we can get them from distributors here domestically. So we'll get these big blocks of chocolate in, and then we'll use those to make product, and then decide, is this really what we want? But between the type of chocolate and how you temper the chocolate, that's the key.
What does that mean?
So the key is how you heat that chocolate, right?
Okay.
So it's the temperatures you have to take it to, and the stages you get the chocolate to, so that you get the right textures and flavors at the end. So
And how did you come up? Like, how do you figure that out? Like, what is the right?
for us, it was trial and error.
I was gonna say it must have been right.
For bigger places, I'm sure it's more well known. You go out and hire a chocolatier. And
What was that process like? Your trial and error.
It was lengthy. We probably talked and really started it about a year before we opened the store.
Yeah.
So because there was a lot more to do than what we knew. So that is why the more complicated chocolates, the truffles and different things like that, we do use outside vendors, bigger companies that have the equipment, to do that. Because we still like to do the things that we do by hand. It's really all hand tempered.
Which is what?
Yeah, we do a lot of clusters, different types of candies and clusters. So if you want to do the fancy truffles and all that stuff, you need the equipment to be able to do that, and paint and all that stuff. So we actually keep to the more simple chocolates, things that we can do, flavors that we know people love.
Well, what is the flavor that people love? Like, what is a shirt? What is a shirt
clusters thing? And cashew clusters, anything with nuts, people love. Peanut butter, anything is a winner every single time. And then the normal for us, we try to do something different, seasonal all the time in our case. So like right now, we'll have things specially made, like chocolate covered Oreos, specially made for for Halloween Oreos and stuff like that. So we always have to try something different, have something seasonal in our case.
So what was about candy itself? Like you could be selling any kind of food there, make any kind of thing. And what is it that drew you to that?
So I think just our family in general, because it's a family business. It's really my wife's stores. My wife Amity does so much work to keep those stores running. My adult children help out with the stores. My son Brent always was behind the counter. If you go to Dreamies, you'll see Brent. Kendra's always there at Rainbow as well. My daughter-in-law. So, and we have a lot of children. We have 10 children.
Yep.
So for
and
us,
where are these
taste
stores
testing
located?
They're all here. Yeah,
they're
all up here
on Park Row, and they're
They're all here. We live in Sequoia, and the store's in Clinton, so we're all local, right down the street from each other. And except my one daughter who still lives in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Still lives down there, but she's down her own. But all the kids, everybody else is up here, and they're all part of it, and they all kind of have their own little jobs that they do, and it's kind of fun.
Now I'm wondering, like in the
taste testing is fun in our house.
I was gonna say there must be really. And I was gonna say, like, one of the trial and error things. I was wondering, like, well, with Reese's, what he did was he was an employee of Milton Hershey.
That's right.
And he wanted to make first he tried to make a peanut butter ball.
Yeah.
So he was working on that, and it didn't really, there's a lot of people that made those, and he tried to make peanut butter cups. There's a lot of people that made those as well, and they were not too successful until one day a batch burned of the peanuts, and instead of throwing the batch out, he gave it a try, and that taste, that sort of burnt taste, is what we now know as Reese's peanut butter cups.
That's right.
So this happy accident created this whole thing. So let me ask you, like, along the way, what surprises or happy accidents have you found making candy? What unusual combinations?
Yeah, there have been a few that we've tried. So probably I would say the most recent, we're always trying to come up with what would be good with chocolate. And I don't know that we found anything that doesn't work with chocolate, to be honest with you.
Right.
I feel like our chocolate is so good sometimes that I can throw anything in there and it's going to taste pretty good. But our big thing was, a lot of people do chocolate covered pretzels and all that stuff. So years and years ago, like I said, some of the chocolate shops that we used to go to, chocolate covered potato chips were a big thing. So we.
That was kind of about since the 70s, I believe.
They
right?
have,
I
they have.
I sort of remember that. when
Yeah,
they were
so-
a new thing.
So they were a big thing, and we were kind of. So we started experimenting. You don't realize what chips won't work, and
Well-
what chips will work.
Well, now which ones won't?
So what won't is anything really thin and kind of greasy. It doesn't really work with
Okay.
chocolate. The chocolate doesn't want to stick to those kind of those.
that would
so,
make sense.
So the less greasy,
Like
the,
an oil
the
and
heavier
water
the chip.
kind of
Correct.
thing?
Correct. So
I
it'll
see.
kind of fall apart and fall off the chip. So we
Yeah.
had to experiment with that, but then we got down to once we figured out the type of chips we wanted to use and what really worked for us, we decided to try Doritos.
Interesting.
So they're shockingly good.
I was gonna say I'm
Covered
trying
in
to
chocolate.
visualize what that taste would be like. And
Yeah.
I sort of can't imagine that, but
I agree. We did it in white chocolate
yeah,
and milk chocolate.
white chocolate
and,
too.
Yeah, it
My
was
gosh.
surprisingly good.
It's interesting. So, Patty and Rob, let me ask you. So you're with you're at WODOX.
Right.
What does WODOX stand for?
Not
Or is
what
that
you
just
would
the name
think.
that-
No, not at all what you think. I used to make tables,
Okay.
and I wanted to make people think, and so I'd make like river tables, and so
Okay.
wood and epoxy, and I put the word together. Well, I liked it so much that I just kept it.
I like that. Well, it sounds very like super modern and what you
Right.
guys do is really super modern.
Exactly.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your store?
We have all of our candies freeze dry. Freeze dried machines came out a really long time ago, but
Oh, they did? I
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
thought that they were kind of a new thing.
they're not. And out in Utah, they're really big because the LDS religion's out there, and they believe in a very extended
with
time
Prepper
of.
probably
Right,
stuff.
right.
Yeah.
So that really appealed to them, and then the happy mistakes you talk about, the two things that happen, which is kind of funny because the religion would never like go for this,
Yeah.
but was candy
Yeah.
and weed. Like
Really?
yes, like people started that, and
Oh.
it totally changes the dynamics of the candy
Yeah.
and makes the flavor more intense. And it's better for people who have like teeth issues.
Oh, right,
Because-
right.
'cause it doesn't
Because you
stick
don't
to
have to
your mouth.
chew it. It kind
Right,
of like,
yeah.
it has it's kind of hard to describe what the feeling like is, but you don't have to chew it. It's sort of like
Right.
combination of like melts and bites through, kind of like maybe like a meringue kind of feel
Yeah.
to a degree.
Yeah, I think that's a good description of it. Yeah.
When did you have your first freeze dried candy? Like long before you got into the field, when did you have your first one? And what did you think?
A couple. So I'd been thinking about actually getting a machine for a while because that's where I'm from, is Utah, and
Oh,
it wasn't catching yet.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then I drive out to Utah quite like 3 times a year, and on my way there was a store that had it closer to Utah,
Mhm.
and I said it's time, and I mean. I just loved it, and I just thought it was a brilliant idea, and it was something great to bring back east
Yeah.
for people to get accustomed to.
Right, right. And like at first, people drive by and they see freeze dried candy and have no idea
Right.
what it is. I didn't either. We stopped in and it's like, it's kind of amazing because you get like you get the taste of the gummy bear or the Skittle, but the texture is so different and it feels like
Right.
such an unusual treat.
Yeah, it is, and it's actually not, which Bob is better at describing this, but
Oh, yeah, we'll talk
there's a
into
difference
it.
between freeze dry
Okay.
and vacuum puff. Do you want to?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The candy, technically, it's not technically freeze dried, it's not frozen. The machine for candy, the machine skips that process.
Okay.
So the candy, because the candy doesn't have as much moisture as regular food.
Right.
So it skips right to it's on a vacuum chamber
Okay.
at anywhere from 135 to 150 degrees. So between the heat and the vacuum, that's what makes the candy expand and,
Oh, so it's heated up.
yes.
Oh,
yeah.
see, I kind of thought it was like the opposite. Like you froze it down. Wow.
No, it is done in a freeze dryer, but
Yeah.
like I said, with the
So
candy,
that's
it
what a
skips,
freeze dryer
it
does.
skips the freezing part. And
Yeah.
goes right to it's puffed up in a vacuum.
Interesting.
Under some heat.
Because it kind of looks like what popcorn's like.
Right.
Like you can almost see like back when I was a kid, they used to have popcorn that was colored, and then like it would pop. You'd see that a little bit of the outside. It
Yes.
looks like that too, you know.
Yeah, it sort of does that in slow motion. When the vacuum pump kicks on, you can actually watch the candy
Oh my gosh.
expand.
Well, I want to hear more about this process. We have to go to a break right now. Before we do it, I just want to say, so the next kind of thing in the candy, in the evolution was Milton Hershey, who most people have heard of him. He was big into the caramel candy. He was big into the caramels. Then he found out about this process in Switzerland to put milk with the caramel instead of wax. I've never eaten wax in candy, but I can only imagine it must have been pretty bad. And we put the milk in, must have been pretty great. So he made so much money on that. Then he heard that the Swiss were doing that with chocolate, and he just knew this was the thing. So he sold the caramel business. He bought a farm in Lancaster, Pennsylvania County, built a factory, put all the money into a factory, housing for staff. He didn't have a recipe yet, but he knew he could come up with one. And just at the last minute, before like all the money was about to drain out of the bank account, and he had a factory with nothing to do, he came up with the recipe for what became Hershey bars. And that was the first time that candy bars, that was the first time that chocolate was sold, was mass produced as a bar, not as something you would drink. So Mel and Hershey is an American. We should all know his name. Mel, he's a hero. He's a hero of mine. So today in the hot seat, we're celebrating candy as a medium. You're with 95.5 FM The Heat. I'm Ron Klopfenstein. More after the break. At Excellus Group, you're in the hot seat on a medium Monday. Hi everybody, welcome back to the hot seat on this medium Monday. I am Ron Klopfenstein, and today the medium is candy. And what's so great about candy is that it's such an important part of our lives. And we think about candy, it's not just a treat. It's our past. It's Christmas, it's Halloween, it's birthdays, it's gifts. It's going to the movies. There's so many things that like candy, there's so many great emotions in this nostalgia that like we think about, like when we think about these foods. Before the show I was talking about how when I was a little kid, my grandmother would take care of me on Saturday nights sometimes when my parents would go out. We would watch Fantasy Island, and it was like kind of well, in modern taste, it'd be considered very mild, But at the time, it was an exciting, kind of edgy, spooky show. So we would watch this show together, and she would throw gumdrops at me. It would always scare me, like at scary times. But the gumdrops were so great, So I think about all the way back to like how a memory like that, just those gumdrops, like it added so much, And I'm wondering, like for you guys, because you're in the business now, like what memories of candy do you have that makes you think, candy, or chocolate, I love that stuff. Let's start with you guys over there at WODOX. So what do you think? Like what does candy do you? What are some of your best moments in candy?
I think my best moment is my grandma would, on special occasions, my uncle worked for Mars. And
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
and she would obviously got a bucket of those.
I'll bet.
And she would make us cookies with the M&Ms on it.
Oh,
So we always look
yeah.
forward to that. And then honestly, I loved, once I had children,
Yeah.
taking them for Halloween. In fact, I'd be carrying them, and they'd be saying, "Can we go home?" I'm like, "No, I gotta make you more. You need more candy."
I know. And Halloween was great because you always got the variety. Like in the store, like I would never think, oh, what's a Mary Jane? I'll try one of those. But at Halloween, there's somebody that had those, and like you may not want them, but you think, oh, I had those too. Well, how about you, Rob? Your memories of candy throughout your life.
Well, I guess when I think of candy, I remember, I guess Halloween, going up and down the streets in the fall at night. And back then you could, you didn't have to go with your
Oh, I know.
parents. And
It was
at a certain
amazing.
age,
You could just be out with your friends and just
Yeah.
like be supervised. You go house to house. And
Yeah,
you could
and
be
like-
out all night.
yeah, and like you said,
Great.
collecting different kinds of candy that you never had
know.
before. And,
Yeah, like
Trying
Mike and
different
Ike and
things. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, there were always some things that like you would get and think, Mike and I, nah, that's not for me, but
Yeah.
but at least I tried it.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's incredible, like how many memories, like it just floods kind of back, you
Yeah.
know. And I'm thinking for you, Tim, same must be true.
Yeah, so you know, what's a bad memory with candy?
Exactly.
Right,
Right.
But Halloween,
None.
of course. I mean, we all know how many times did you hit the house that sold that gave out the full candy
The
bars?
bigger,
Right?
yes, yes.
How many times did you
That
go
was my
back?
great grandparents' house. I
Yeah,
gotta
we'll
get
change
some credit here, you know?
outfits around the corner and go back. 'Cause
Exactly.
No
Exactly.
one had those big
Uh-uh.
candy
I
bars,
know,
right? You didn't have
I
those at
know.
your house. No one could have those. So.
And like after
Yeah,
a
those
few
were-
hours of being in town, like, you know, everybody would talk about like, gotta go to this house, gotta go to that house.
Yeah.
you know?
Right, word gets around, right?
I know.
Clean
Go to
those
the house
people
with the
out.
Yes.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So you must see, like, when people come into your stores, you know, like when people come in, they must be like, oh, I remember those, you know, because your candy is based on like those
Right.
original classics.
Right, it's like that, but it's also a lot of people come in and they haven't experienced it yet.
And I had it when I went to your store. My
Yeah.
husband and I, it was their first time, and it's like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah, and we have a try before you buy bar.
You do, yes,
yeah,
yes.
So, and, we just got the kitchen approved, so we've expanded it, and we have 150 different saltwater taffies alone, and then a
Wow.
bunch of candy. So I think it's really exciting to watch people's reaction.
Yeah.
It's just it's always good. It's never been bad. They just are mesmerized by it all.
And one of the things that I'm going to put on the, because what I'll do is when the show's done, put up, we have a page for like the show notes and stuff, the pictures that you sent, because your store is like Willy Wonka. I mean, it's
Right.
amazing just to see your store inside.
That
is
was important
incredible.
to me. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, what makes a good candy? Because I'll
People
bet that
like
there's
it.
some that like you've tried and thought, you know, this one's not too, you know, I mean.
It's
What
really
makes a
hit.
hit?
It's really hit or miss, and you have a general idea of what's going to work because there's
Yeah.
certain things that will not freeze dry,
Oh,
and so you
right,
have
right.
to be aware of that.
No, what won't?
So like nuts, preserves,
Chocolate.
chocolate,
Oh, chocolate.
Peanut butter.
right, peanut butter,
Okay.
but like real chocolate.
Yes.
So like you could do milk dud because caramel actually is one of the best things to freeze dry.
Oh, I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so
interesting.
the little bit of chocolates on there works great, but you couldn't
Yeah.
like actually do chocolate. But even with that, so gummies work great, but then Sour Patch Kids don't work because of the
No?
consistency of them.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because of like the powder that makes it soury, or like.
No, because of how thick it is, it's more like in the range of a
Oh.
preserve as opposed to the gummy. So it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
too thick, I guess you would say.
So it just doesn't have.
No, it
like
won't.
that.
Yeah, no matter how long you keep it in the dryer, it won't work.
So what's been your most popular like line or like most popular?
Charleston Chews.
That's my favorite. You know what? I like those because they're so big.
Yeah.
I used to love those because they would go on and on and on.
Well,
you
and
know?
the funny
Yeah,
thing is
yeah.
I use the miniature ones, and they pump up to be big.
Oh, they
so,
go up to be big. Okay. So I was gonna say, I don't know about that.
and Skittles is tried and true, and
Yes.
everybody loves
Everybody
Skittles.
loves those.
And then this year's been the Nerd candy
Yes.
corn.
Mhm.
People really love those. Lemon heads.
Well, I'm happy to hear that candy corn's making a comeback because I am a fan, you know, of
candy
I
corn?
know that a lot of people don't like those, but I do, you know.
Well, what
think
I
they're
try
good.
to tell people is like it's like Peeps. I never
I
liked.
love those too,
Well,
you know?
I never liked them. I wouldn't even get them for my
I know
kids.
that's how people
But
are.
when you freeze dry them, they taste so different, and now I love
Oh,
them. Yeah.
I gotta try those.
Yeah.
Do you have those now? Are those in this bag you
Oh,
brought me?
yeah.
Oh my God, we're gonna open this up later.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait! I can't wait. So, Rob or Tim, let me go to you now. What makes a good candy?
I don't know. Again, I don't know if there's a bad one, but it really for us it comes down. It's hit and miss sometimes. But anything with as far as chocolate goes, anything with peanuts,
Yeah.
peanut butter, anything is always a big fan favorite. But we also find it interesting. Caramel, any chocolate covered caramels are a huge fan favorite. Mint is a really big
Really,
hit.
mint too?
Mints are a real big hit, yeah. So.
It seems like caramel is becoming a bigger thing. It's in Reese's peanut butter cups now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a version with that. You know.
And M&Ms.
M&Ms.
Oh, it's an M&M.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. True,
As well.
true.
Those are the only M&Ms we can do.
Yeah,
Oh, really? Oh, because the other ones don't do that.
because it's
don't.
got too much
much
chocolate.
chocolate, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So caramel's like making kind of a comeback.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Do you think it's just like a fall thing, or do you think it's going to continue? Like, are there seasonal candies?
I don't believe in that.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
We
yeah,
do
like
have,
Peeps?
Yeah,
Is it
we do
right?
have seasonal. We do have seasonal and chocolates because we know some things sell better. Like we put pumpkin in the case 2 weeks ago, and we can't keep it in the case. So it's
Really?
pumpkin truffles, pumpkin spice
Yeah.
truffles. So you know, it's always a challenge to guess the seasonal.
Right, right. I'm also surprised, like with Peeps, like the reaction that it gets, because I also thought that they were great. I mean, oh my God, they're marshmallow, and, you know.
well,
it's
now
like
they have
that.
so many flavors. Like
There's so many different
I have
kinds
like
now.
11 flavors.
Yeah, oh, you
Peeps.
do?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the good thing about it, I guess seasonal wise doesn't matter to us because once you freeze dry, it will last for 25 years.
Exactly.
So it's a moot
Right.
point. You know what I
Right,
mean?
Right. And, you know, and they're all just candy too. It's like
Right.
you know, it's like marshmallow's good all the time. You know. It's
Right.
Like, now, how about marshmallow? Is that like hard to work with, particularly or easy? I was wondering because the consistency seems like it'd be
Sticky.
different than other stuff. Yeah.
For me, it's great. I don't know.
Yeah, for us, it's really not hard to work with for us
Yeah.
either. I mean, we do s'mores with
Oh.
cracker and marshmallow chocolates in them. So and they're really easy. to work
And no problem like working. It's not any particular harder. What is the most difficult thing that each of you makes in your store? The most complicated thing?
What do you think? Oh, we don't like gummies, but they're really good, but they're really hard. They're very
Why are they
temperamental. Because it's like we said, the hit and miss thing.
Yeah.
Gummies work, but then you could try a different brand and it won't work. And then
Oh.
you could try one brand and it explodes, and you have to take the whole machine apart, clean it out, and you just never know.
Wow.
So it sometimes, I mean, it's funny. Sometimes it's great. You find things that work, and you're so happy, and then other times you're like, oh, I can do without this.
So this is kind of like when something like you put pasta in the microwave and it explodes and the red sauce is
Right.
all over the microwave. Is that kind of what happens with you guys
Yes.
when it doesn't work?
Yes.
Well, it explodes in slow motion.
Yeah,
It's
like
Oh,
amazing.
no.
you're watching
You're
it.
watching it.
Oh, it's getting too big, shut the machine down.
Oh, so you actually see it like enlarged and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
Wow.
window that you can watch, and
Wow.
and as soon as the vacuum kicks in,
Yeah.
you, and the heat's at, because there's 3 different settings. You either
Tell me,
do-
well, how does this work?
So you either do a regular start, which you just put it in
Yeah.
the freeze dryer. There's a warm start, which is you start the machine and it does not start the vacuum until it gets to 150.
Okay.
And then a hot start, which is the machine only goes to 150. So like say if you need it to get to 400, you put it in the oven first.
Yeah.
At 400, then you hurry, put it in the freeze dryer, and kick the vacuum on, so that like and things that are like a shell. For instance,
Yeah.
Starburst need a hot start because they're harder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Does
Cinnamon
the shell have
Imperials.
to
Right.
melt? or
Right,
first?
right, exactly,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Lemon heads.
Lemon head
Okay.
needs a hot. So yeah, exactly what you said. Like the shell needs to melt a little bit, and then it works
Before
great.
it can do
Right.
this kind of thing. So it's interesting because I kind of assumed that like it was all the same. Like you just took the candy, put it on a tray, stuck it in there for two hours, took it out, and it's done. So
No, and then some things. So usually your average is 3 hours.
Yeah.
But then
Oh.
things like the clusters, nerd clusters, those
Yeah.
take about 8 hours, and then
8
gummies
hours.
take about 18 hours.
18
So,
hours to
yeah.
make gummies.
So
Wow.
like, and then just because of rules and laws, you know,
Yeah.
when it's a certain degree of liquid, you have to have it approved. At
Yeah.
least we do, because freeze dry is so new.
Sure.
You have to have it approved by Cornell. So,
Oh.
but then when do things like ice cream and cake, that takes 48 hours. So we
Wow.
won't be having that till next year because
Yeah.
we're trying to get caught up on all the candy, get it all the other stuff tested.
So is it possible that you could have like a tray in there that's in at 17 hours and think it's going to be fine, and at the last minute it pops and
No, you'll know. Like
No,
you
you know
know
right
within
away.
the
You
first
can't-
like 5-10 minutes, right?
oh okay.
Yeah, and you
There's
can't
gonna be-
over freeze dry anything.
No.
Oh, I see.
It's more of
Okay.
explosion, like
Yeah.
Like, you know when you blow bubble gum?
Yes, right.
So
right.
like all of a sudden you put the
Yeah.
vacuum kicks on,
Yeah.
and it's going like Willy Wonka, the blueberry
right,
girl.
right. Yes, yes. The
Yeah.
the blueberry. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
the
Oh,
blueberry
I
girl.
see. So Tim, like for your process, how long does it take to make a cluster?
So it really does, for us, the hardest thing to work with is actually the chocolate. Because of the
Yeah.
technique we use, the hand tempering, and we're constantly taking temperatures to get to that right temperature.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
and then you also have to understand what ingredients you're gonna use with that chocolate. So if you're using nuts that have more oil with them,
Yeah.
the temperatures are a little bit more subtle on those
Is
because
it because with the oil from the nuts, like
that's right, it'll
like-
affect the chocolate.
yeah, like
Right.
if you're with like the oil
Yeah,
and the
if
chocolate,
it doesn't
like-
set fast enough, the oil mixes with the chocolate, and then you get some oxidation.
I
and
see.
all that stuff.
And
So
what
it's-
would that be? Oxidation would mean like it
Could be
was
those
never
white
hard enough.
spots. You ever see chocolate you've left out for a
yes,
long
yes.
time?
Oh,
and it
yes,
gets
I
kind of
have.
white spots
That's
on
what
it.
that is.
That's what
oxidation.
that is.
Correct.
The white spots.
Yep.
Wow. Well, this conversation is so amazing. We are going to have more, but after the break, we're going to be joined by Heather Wasilewski. She's going to call in, and she's looking for people to work with the Committee for Voter Protection. So, information about how you can volunteer for that. We'll talk to her right after the break, and then we'll come back and talk more about candy in America and candy in 2024 right here in the Mohawk Valley. I'm Ron Klopfenstein. You're in the hot seat on a Media Monday. More after the break.
Bank of Utica is a full.
This is Ron Klopfenstein, and you're in the hot seat on a Media Monday.
Great music too.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the hot seat on this Media Monday. Today we're talking all about candy. Having a great time talking about chocolate and freeze-dried candies and gummy bears and all this kind of stuff. But we also have to talk about the election is coming up in 1 week. And I'm joined now on the phone by Heather Wasilewski. She's with the New York State Democratic Committee for Voter Protection. And Heather, you are looking for, first of all, for volunteers, but then also you want to offer help. So welcome to the show.
Hi.
So Heather, now tell me what it is that you're going to be doing on Election Day and how people can get involved to, if they want to help.
Okay. So actually, we are working right now through early voting and Election Day. And what we are doing is looking for poll observers to cover the polls. I work for 6 counties. Oneida County has been my best county. And you can contact me, and what we do is we will put you in a polling place here in Oneida County, and it will be your job to observe to make sure everybody gets the opportunity to vote and that nobody is turned away. Your job is to watch over it just to make sure that everything is running smoothly.
And now, for people that volunteer, do the shifts begin at 5 a.m.?
Well, some shifts do. It depends. Some people will do a morning, and then there will be afternoons and there are evening shifts.
Okay.
So some people will do the whole day.
Yeah.
They're diehards, they'll go in, they'll do the whole day.
I wanted to.
Or some people do. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I wanted to emphasize that because a lot of people think that like if they do this sort of thing, that they have to be there like at 4:30 in the morning to. Be
Yeah,
at
so
5
when they
and stuff,
contact me, they actually get to fill out an availability form.
Oh, I see.
And they can work, they can request to be somewhere close to their house, or they can be, or they can choose wherever within a certain amount of
So if
miles.
someone needs like an evening shift, that would be okay. They could.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and how would people get in touch with you about this?
You can contact me at Heather
Okay.
at NewYorkStateDems.org.
Okay. And now.
NYDems, sorry.
Oh, I'm
.org.
sorry. So you have Heather at nydems.org. And on Election Day, you want to talk about the voter protection hotline that is bilingual.
Okay, so just so everybody's aware, this is the first time that voter protection has been brought to this area. It's usually downstate, but now there's enough regional managers to cover all of New York State. So what we have is a number that anybody can call with any questions about voting, your ballot issues. If you are having any problems at a polling place, you can call 1-844-NY-VOTE. We have over 200 volunteers on those lines and over 700 poll observers across New York State.
Oh, great. So now, like, if people want to volunteer, how soon would they have to let you know if they're interested in
As soon
volunteering?
as
on
they
that day?
email me we will send them the volunteer form. They'll fill it out, and immediately they'll get a response afterwards. They have to take 2 trainings. One, they're both modules that they watch.
Okay.
And after they're done with that, they send me their availability form, and I put them right in.
So it's not too late.
No, it's definitely not too late.
Great. So Heather, why don't you give us the number one more time for the voter protection hotline?
Yep, it's 1844 NY VOTES 1844 New York Vote.
And if someone wants to get in touch with you about how they can help, how can they email you?
Heather at nydems.org.
Great. Well,
That's an
thanks.
email. Yeah.
Thank you, Heather. I will get this up on our show notes. And thanks for giving us a call and telling us about this.
Thank you. Have a good day.
So, candy. Now, what I want to ask you both is, what is something that maybe you tried to make that just didn't work? Or something that you're still working on that you're trying to perfect?
Okay, so
this
here's
is kind of like
literally during the break.
this is
we
a
were just
curve.
talking.
You were? Oh my God! Because I meant this to be like this, the surprise one. You know?
During the break, we were talking, and so we actually did chocolate covered pickles.
Oh wow!
Yeah, like little gherkin
Uh-huh.
pickles, and they were fantastic. I know.
James
Everyone's
is
giving me
making a
this
face
look like,
here.
whoa! But I'm telling you, they were amazing.
Wow!
But just be like the looks I'm getting right now.
Yeah.
People were walking the store and giving me the same look, but the reality was they really tasted well. We're going to continue to
Interesting.
try to make them because
Yeah.
once people start to taste them, they will buy them again.
You
They're
probably
really,
have to do like a free sample thing with those.
absolutely.
You know?
Oh, definitely had to do a free sample thing with those. Yeah. But they're an
Interesting.
experience.
Wow.
But that's what we're always trying to do down at
That's the way
Dreamies
to do
and
it.
Rainbow Covered is try to create this experience for you to come in to see.
Yeah, yeah. And your store too has a great decor as well.
Oh well,
And
I
you'll
can
have to
take
send
no
me some
credit. I can
pictures
take-
too about. so I put
Absolutely,
those
we'll send you some
into,
pictures
yeah.
to put up. I can take you anyone who follows us on Instagram or Facebook.
I'll put all this
obviously.
stuff in the show.
Yeah,
notes.
it's my wife. I can take no credit for that at all. My wife
Yeah.
is an artist and just a genius designer, and she does a lot of work down there. My son and my daughter-in-law help design some things, so it's just a family affair, and
It's
with my
impressive.
wife leading it, and it's really an experience. If you ever get a chance to come down into Clinton and take
What
a
I
look,
love about
you'll do
both
it.
of the stores is that both of your stores are candy stores. Like you walk in there, you know you're in a candy store. It's not just the
Right.
aisle where they have the cake. You know, it's like you feel like it. You know, and it's really great. I just think that is so nice to add to the environment of the the experience and stuff. So what's your thing that you're still trying that's really hard, or that maybe is still experimenting with?
There's several things actually, because remember the whole thing that I told you about the regular start, warm start, hot start.
Right, right.
So if it didn't work with the regular start, then I go on and I try a warm start, and if that
I
doesn't work,
see.
then there's several candies that I'm still trying that for.
York
not giving up.
peppermint patties. Now, how about
They're
those?
delicious.
Do they
The
work?
junior mints are amazing, right?
Oh my god.
They're his favorite.
Good. Really?
actually,
Oh, they're one of
yes.
my favorites too. Yeah.
Good.
I'm happy
Oh, I
to
wish I
hear
would've
that.
known that.
Well, that's great because I'm in Rome a lot, so
Okay,
I'm
good,
sure I'll
good.
get some of your York. Yeah, yeah. So, how did you learn all this stuff? Because, like, the warm start, the hot. I mean, there's so much more to this than like
Right.
most people would imagine. Like, how did you learn all this stuff?
Well, you have to, with anything you do, you have to educate yourself with it, and then
Yeah.
it's a lot of it's trial and error. You know,
Right.
what works best for you, and I think it's really good to get out there and let other people know so that they can enjoy it as well. You know, being able
Right.
to do it at home if they have a machine. and
Like,
whatnot.
did you practice somehow before you invested in the big equipment?
No.
I mean, no.
No, I just-
no.
We just did it, and that's when we found out. And that was
Well,
the
I
biggest
love that
mistake.
leap of faith.
Yeah.
That's what
There is
Mel and
part of
Hershey
that.
did.
Yeah, that's
That's
right.
what Mel and
There's part
Hershey
of that,
did.
yeah.
Exactly.
That's so great.
And then you get something, you're like, oh, like probably I would say a good half of what we purchased at first
Yeah.
did not work, and we were like, ooh, let's not do that anymore. Next time, just we'll get small batches, right? And then you do it, and it either works or doesn't. And
What
yeah.
was your first big hit? What was the first
Um,
thing that
Milk
your
duds.
first- Milk duds.
Yeah.
So they're caramel. So they probably are those the caramel ones or the malted ones?
You actually have in there,
I have
and
some in
they're
there, okay.
they're it's shocking because what we do is we cut it in half, and that's how
Yeah.
big 1/2 gets. So yeah,
Wow.
the caramels worked really good, and
It
the
just
marshmallows work
expands.
really good. Yeah.
Huh. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Well, how about you? Like, how did you learn?
It really was trial and error for us. You know,
Yeah.
it was doing some research in advance of all this, and then deciding what technique we wanted to use, and really kind of just learning to understand the chocolate. When you work with the chocolate, you learn to understand it quickly, or you ruin every batch.
Right.
So,
Chocolate is
Temperamental.
temperamental. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing. I was
It
going to
is.
say that because it's like, and from what I understand, it's because it's like got some like it has the oil and the milk, and somehow
Correct.
that's like
if you separate
doesn't-
too much,
Right.
then
yeah.
you
I've
know,
actually learned
this
quite a
is-
bit from Foods That Built America,
Yeah.
a TV show that I recommend so highly. It's on the History Channel. It's on a bunch of other things now too. Foods That Built America, and they have a
Right.
thing about Hershey, and they have a thing about in these books too. Like I just want to give these names out: The Emperors of Chocolate, Inside the Secret World of Hershey and Mars. This is a book by Joel Glenn Brenner, and this was the first book that I'd ever read. And like you can see, the guests can see all of my
Oh,
post-it
wow.
notes and stuff. I was fascinated, and then a book came out a few years ago. It was called Candy: A Century of Panic and Pleasure by Samira Kawash. In this book too, it talks about the people who made this stuff, but also about like how our culture goes through phases about candy. Like, oh, it's the times we think it's bad, at times we love it, at times we do all this stuff. And what's so great about now is that we're in a time of progress and innovation. I think it's so great that like people are. I think it's so great that like even though we do have Hershey's and Mars and Nestle, these big corporations, you know, there are people who are just like going ahead and just opening their own candy store with their own stuff, and it's got to take a lot of guts. So, what is it that made you feel like decide that I'm going to step up and give this a try and open a business is a leap of faith and it's the risk. So,
Right.
what is it that made you decide? Yep, I'm going to give this a shot.
Honestly, I just felt like we had really broke down a lot in society.
Yep.
A lot of people were angry, short with each other, angry, and I just wanted to do something that would make people smile. And can't, like you've said, chocolate. There's nothing bad with chocolate. Nothing bad with candy, and it makes you. I know a lot of people have walked in my shop and they smile
They do.
immediately, and that's what I wanted to invoke because I just felt we need more safe, non-confrontational places that make you smile.
Oh, well, I really love that answer. That is how I felt too. I walked into your place. We both walked in. My husband there, Jim, he's a videographer. Jay-Z is a sound engineer. I always got to give them credit too because they do all this stuff behind the scenes. But we walked in there, and you know, I thought to myself, this is a candy store. I love this place, you know? And it makes you feel good. It makes you feel like in a way that you don't necessarily feel like in the candy aisle at a department store.
Right.
You know, it's like, this is candy, like on the walls, look at this stuff. Oh my God, you know.
You
like,
almost
oh my
can't
gosh.
be angry. If
You're
you're
looking
in a
at
bad
everything
mood, you
at
come
once.
in and it just like,
Yeah, you just want to like experience it all at once, you know. It gives you that feeling, and what a good answer. God, I love that. Well, so Tim, what is it that made you and your wife, you know, decide to take the chance to step up, put yourself out there, and do your own thing?
So it was a family affair for us. You know,
Who
with all-
else is
with all the
involved?
kids. So we have 10 children, and
Wow, well, who
all
are
but
they?
all but my oldest daughter, who still lives in Pennsylvania, is
10
involved. Yeah.
children. Wow.
Yeah, everyone's involved. We have from 30 all the way down to 10 years old, and
Oh my gosh.
they're all very involved. And
Nice.
It's really became. We wanted to build something that the whole family could be involved in for years,
Yeah.
years to come. So it really started with my wife's love for plants,
Okay.
Rainbow
Wow.
Cupboard is a very big plant store. Anyone who's ever been there, that's a whole nother show for you.
So
by the way. Plants.
your businesses used to be two separate
Correct.
storefronts
Correct.
around the corner. One
Yep.
is on Clinton Road. One's on the
One's
Park
on
Parkway,
College Street,
one's
one's
on
on
College
Park
Street.
Row. Yeah, now they're both combined into
Now they're
one,
combined.
the one store up on Park Row. So
Right,
and it
right.
just and that was a great move for our family. It was hard to cover two stores all the time.
I can imagine. yeah.
Scheduling and people being there all the time.
Right.
So what were the
having
two
a-
stores? Candy and
Rainbow Cupboard is our other store with the plants. And,
Okay,
and,
okay.
and all the gifts and it's so much more than that. Even you can walk into Rainbow Cupboard and find something new every single time you walk in there.
And now they've combined.
Okay,
So that's
okay.
what. Yeah.
And it's just really her vision was make this happy place for people to come in. They could walk out of the cold and walk into this room and go, wow. And that's really the expression we get when most people walk in is they walk in, they've never seen it before and go,
That
wow.
was my expression
And-
too. Yes, I don't
And
know. Do you
it's fun to
remember
watch. It's
when
really
I
fun
came
to
to
watch.
talk to you, I think it was at one of the perhaps of the 4th of July in Clinton.
Correct.
You walk in there and
Yeah.
think, this place is just like yours. It's wonderful here.
Yeah.
You know, it really is.
Really
And-
want to create that warm environment where
If you
people just
wanna
feel like
be
they
there.
belong. That's right.
Yeah, you want to be there.
Yep.
So like, who did all the decor? Is that your wife and your kids?
Yeah,
or-
my wife's the designer behind all that. She's a really good artist and a
Yeah.
great creator, and I think that's
Nice.
her strongest thing. She just loves to create, and so there's always something new to look at there. There's always something new coming in.
Absolutely. So like, who do you admire in business or in candy? Who are some of your inspirations? Either like just in food or maybe in candy specifically or business
Yeah,
or
I love
in
the-
your family or like who inspires you?
My wife inspires me a lot. I mean,
Why?
I really am. I mean, she's really. So we have a lot of children. We've adopted 7 children.
Good
and
for
it's
you.
It's just, and Milton Hershey was kind of a
Oh,
weird
so you have
angle
a
for
connection
us. So
with
we had
too,
that
yeah,
connection
yeah.
with them because for people who don't know, if you ever read the books about Milton Hershey, he's the philanthropy and the school that still exists in Pennsylvania is just a
Absolutely.
phenomenal place.
Great humanitarian.
Yeah, great humanitarian. A lot of the money you spend with Hershey Corporation goes to those causes.
absolutely
So
does,
it's
yeah.
it's a really great place, and we really, as far as our family goes, we really just wanted to create that special place that everyone could
How
come and be
nice. So
involved.
like you're following in his footsteps in so many ways.
Yes.
That is a
Yeah.
really nice thing. So how about you guys? Like, who inspires you, or who in business, or in candy, or in your life, or
well, funny. Hershey's. My mom used to take us there almost every year, and her twin sister would bring her kids, and we'd go there. So I've always, and my mom used to cook and make cookies at Christmas time and stuff. And Willy Wonka, which
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but
yeah, no, of course.
we play that
He's an
in the
iconic
shop. Yeah,
figure.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So I just really like the whole demeanor of that. My inspiration, my husband. I adore him, and he
Oh, it's
he
nice.
always. He's my greatest fan,
Aw,
and then my kids. They're
Yes.
they're my other greatest fans, and
yeah,
you just kind of feel like when you have family backing you up.
yeah.
And that was the other thing. I wanted something like we were both military. Our daughter's military, so military means a lot. So everybody that's on our team is connected to the military one way or
Nice,
another.
nice.
And I just wanted to make it's a lot. The percentage of military people is a lot less than people think.
Yeah,
And it's a hard life sometimes, and I wanted something that would help other members as
Wow.
well,
it's so nice that like with both of your stores, you can go there and like get great stuff, but you're also supporting these good
Right.
things,
Good causes,
so both
yeah.
of your stores, yeah. So I do want to add one more thing too. So Willy Wonka, when the book first came out,
Right.
so one of the first fans was the president of Quaker Oats. So he commissioned it to be a film because Quaker wasn't in the business because it was Hershey Mars. So they wanted to get
Right.
in this too. So they commissioned the film, and it was originally called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the book, but he made the movie Willy Wonka because he thought that would be like a bigger sell.
Right.
So they came out with Willy Wonka bars, and the idea was that Quaker was going to come out with like all these fantastic candies that were in the film. So they produced the film. Now we think of it as a big hit because it is now, but it wasn't. It was actually a bomb, kind of like the Wizard of Oz. The first time out,
Right.
no one blocked. flop. So, but the candy bars continued to sell, and then eventually Quaker, they kind of developed more into the things like more of the gummy kinds of candies and stuff. So by the 70s and 80s, the people that grew up in the 60s didn't want their parents' candy bars, Hershey bars. So that's like how we ended up with Nerds and Gummy Bears and Sour Patch Kids, which surprisingly I read at the time was a really shocking thing. Like to sell a candy that was sour too. And a lot of people, the older generations, the executives were like, that's not gonna work. But kids like that, the bold taste, and like now we're used to that. Like we expect that too, So the industry just grows and grows and grows. But I got to say, after today, talking to you three, it's just so nice to think that like it's growing in a way that really is doing so much for people, for the community, and really just supporting not just what candy brings people as joy, but like you're doing things to like increase joy in your customers' lives. So bravo to you both. So I had Tim Messett from Rainbow Cupboard, which is in Clinton on Park Row. And my guests today were also Patty Chmara-Shirley and Robert Shirley from WODOX, and you guys are on Erie Boulevard
Yes.
in Rome.
Yes.
And what are the hours and anything people should know how to get there?
Right now we're open. Right now we're open Wednesday through Sunday because we realized we weren't leaving ourselves enough time to make the candy.
Gonna make all that
But
candy.
our kitchen's been approved, so starting
Hey.
in November we'll be open 7 days a week.
Awesome.
And instead of being open at 11, we're gonna open at noon to 8 o'clock.
Love it. And how about you? How about you, Tim?
Same boat. We're Wednesday through Sunday, and it's for the exact same reason. It gives
Well,
us enough time, and because of the process we use,
Yeah.
it takes some time to.
Those are good candy times. I'll get all this information and links to your stores and Facebook pages or whatever you want on the show notes. So I'll have that up by Wednesday at uticaphoenix.net/Media Monday. My guest today, we're talking about candy as a medium, candy as a way to bring joy and a way to like really move the industry for. I'm trying to think what to say, what this is all about. But candy is life, candy is fun, candy is joy, candy is what we're all about, and definitely what I'm all about here at the Hot Seat on a Medium Monday. So thanks for joining me. I'll be back next week with more. Now I'm going to kick things over to Jay Easy for the Easy Ride Home.